Okay. So, if you want to add two numbers, you can add it like this. If you want to multiply, I mean, you can actually do multiple lines of code in the same box. Okay. So let's say if you want to multiply 23 times 76. Okay. And now if you run it, you'll see that both the numbers are displayed in the order in which they are executed. Okay. Uh, so this is basically 23 times 76, and this is 356 plus 99. Okay. You can also divide numbers. Okay. So 99 by 7. Okay. And you can see the result over here. Is that fine? Okay. And you can also do exponentiation. Okay. So let's say you want to figure out what is 2 to the power 5. You can do 2 star star 5. Okay. So that's 32. Okay. So you can, yeah. So you can also figure out, what is the remainder. If you divide a number by 7, what will be or maybe some other number, what will be the remainder. Let's say print 79% 7. Okay. So let's just, okay. So if you actually divide 79 by 7, the remainder is 2. Is that fine? Okay.
Yes, Professor.
Okay. Now, there are actually different types. You can say data types in Python. So all these are basically 356, 99. All these are integer types. So if you want to know the type of a particular uh, object, you can actually use type command. Okay. So type of, let's say you want to see what is the type of 456. Okay. And you want to print it. Okay. So you can see that it's an integer type. Okay. And if you want to figure out what is the type of, let's say, 456.9. Okay. Then you'll get a float. Okay. So that's a float type. Okay. uh, is that fine? Okay. So of course there are other data types also, but this is the type command is to actually know the type of the object. Okay. Now you can also uh, you know uh, not like these are like kind of numbers, either an integer or a decimal type number, or basically floats. We call them floats. Okay. So there are also you can say uh, strings. Okay. So let me talk about strings a little bit. Okay. So let's say, for example, I write this. Okay. Python. Okay. Now if I just write Python, okay, and run this, I mean, there'll be an error because there is no such thing as, I mean, of course there is, but I mean, the program doesn't recognize this as any variable or anything, or any. I mean, here, like, if you actually type 356 and run this, it's there'll be some output. Okay. But for something like Python, or maybe anything, like py or whatever, if you just write some letters, you need to actually uh, clearly specify what that means. Okay. So if you actually use these quotes. Okay. And now if you run this, okay, you will see that the output will be displayed. So basically, if you put something in quotes, it immediately become a string. Okay. So if you want to check that, Okay, you can easily check, by uh, you know using this type statement. Okay, so it's a string now. Okay, so Python recognizes this as a string. Okay, is that fine?
Yes, Professor.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So like the way we had operations for numbers and like kind of integers and floats, like addition, multiplication, division, etc., etc. So all these will also work for floats. Exponentiation, division, multiplication, and addition. Okay. So we have, similarly for the strings also some methods, that we can employ. Let's say, for example, if you so if you actually, just add them up. Okay. You can see that, the result is displayed as, I love Python. Okay, so basically if you add two strings, the result will be like this. It's just kind of it's just going to concatenate, and produce the result. Okay. So you can also another thing is, let's say if you want, if you actually do something like this. Okay, now 25 plus 25, if you just add 25 plus 25, that's 50. But if you put them in quotes, Python will immediately change its type and it will recognize it as a string. Okay, and then, it will be basically in accordance with the string addition operation. Okay, so obviously if you're going to print this, the result will be 2525. Okay, and the type of this will be string. Okay, so if you want to check the type of this, you can actually, okay, you can see that it's a string. Okay, so 2525 as a string. Is that fine? Okay.
Yes, Professor.
Okay, okay. Okay, you can also, do comparisons in Python. Let's say, whether one number is bigger than the other and so on and so forth. You can actually do that kind of comparison. So suppose you want to figure out whether 3 to the power 5 is bigger than 7 to the power 3. Okay, you can actually just run this and check. Okay, so it turns out that the answer is false. Okay, so if you want to quickly verify this, you can print the results and verify this. uh, just run this. You can see that 3 to the power 5 is 243, 7 to the power 3 is 343. So if I'm making this claim that, 3 to the power 5 is greater than 7 to the power 3, so then the result should be false. Okay, so that's how, you can actually use. So this is, you can call that a boolean if you wish. It creates a boolean variable, okay, which basically takes value 1 or 0. One for true, 0 for false. Okay, so this is false. Okay, so so similarly, if you want to actually check whether two numbers are equal or not, let's say if I want to check, whether 3 to the power 7 is equal to, so notice that I mean, so basically, if you want to check whether two numbers are equal to or not, then you have to use double equal to sign. Okay, don't use a single equal to sign. Okay, print 3 to the power 7 equal to, let's say, 7 to the power 3. Let's see if they are equal or not. So basically what this proposition says is that these two are equal. Okay, so now if it's true, then the output should be true. If it's false, then the output should be false. So it again is just going to convert it into a boolean. Okay, and as you can see that the result is false. So basically these are not the same numbers. Okay, they are not equal. Okay, uh, you can also check if they are not equal or not. I mean, of course you have already checked that they are equal. So there is a way to check if basically you can write the proposition as the negation of this. So basically what is the negation of this? The 3 to the power 7 is not equal to 7 to the power 3. Okay, so if you just look at this one, okay, this should be true, right? Because we have got a false here, so this should be true. Okay, let's run this, and as expected this is true. Is that fine?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah, okay. Okay, okay, let's do few more booleans. Okay, so suppose you have two propositions and you want to figure out whether their conjunction is true or false. So what that means is you have one kind of proposition, and then there is another one, and the conjunction is basically with an and operator. Okay, so let me give you an example. Okay? So suppose I asked this question, what do you think about this? 1 is less than 3, and well, 2 is not equal to 2. Okay, what do you think? I mean, what should be the value of this?
False.
False, right? I mean, because both should be true, right? I mean, for this to be true, both should be true. And since this is not true, 2 is not equal to 2 is not true, right? I mean, 2 is equal to 2, so clearly this should be false, and that's exactly what is we see over here. Okay, similarly, you can actually check if the disjunction of two propositions is true or false. Now let me just take the same proposition and use the disjunction, okay, which is or. Okay, now what about this one? What do you think will be the result of this?
This should be true.
Yeah, this should be true, right? Okay, that's right. Okay. I mean, because we have an or over here, so obviously if any of them is true, then the result will be true. Okay, so okay, please note that this or also includes the possibility when both are true. So when both are true, then also the result will be true. Okay, so it's not an exclusive or. Okay, it's just or. Okay. Okay, so now of course this is all about calculation, comparisons. Can we do something like, of course, can we do it like can we do some more interesting problems with with all this functionality that Python offers to us? Okay, so and of course the answer is yes, we can do actually a lot. Okay, so what we can do is, I mean, if you want to do something interesting, you don't want to actually do work with numbers or strings like this. You want to create variables. Because variables helps you to you know basically keep the code neat, and you can actually reuse those variables. And it's just going to be uh, more useful. Like if you're like, that's going to be like uh, kind of a very big functionality that that programming offers to you. You know, you can just create variables, use them. Okay, basically when I say create variables, basically store some values in those variables and then use them. Okay, you can also use them later. Okay, so that's actually, I mean, you'll see, you know, how it is convenient to create variables and use them. Okay, so so let's imagine a scenario where, you know, the price is 25. Okay, and quantity is 99. Okay, and you want to figure out the total revenue. Okay. So, you know, how do you do that? Well, of course, you can easily do 25 times 99. That's one way to do it. Okay, another way to do that is, you know, you can just create variables. P equal to 25, Q equal to 99. Okay, and you know, you can create another variable if you wish, revenue. Okay, and you can just call this P star Q. Okay, because you're just going to multiply price and quantity to get the revenue, and then you print the revenue. Okay, and just run this. Okay, you can see that the result is displayed over here. Okay, now obviously, you know, a good thing about this is that if you want to change the price and quantity, you just need to change it over here. Okay, you know, let's say if you want to change the price to 21. Okay, you can just change, make this change over here, and just run this. Okay, and the result will be displayed. Okay, or you can overwrite. Okay, you can also overwrite price, and then you know, let's say, you know, okay, so you know, you can just override the price. Okay, just say P equal to 21, and then of course, you know, since the quantity is not changing, you don't have to override that, but you have to again, you know, write the formula for the revenue. Okay, because you know, currently the value that revenue takes is 2475. So if you don't write the formula again, you know, it will just display the same value that it has taken earlier. Okay, it's not going to display the new value with the new price. Okay, so you have to write the formula again, and you know, and run this. You can see that the new revenue is 2079, you know, after the fall in price. Okay, is that fine?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, now suppose, you know, you also have some cost. Okay, so we can actually create profit variable. So so now consider this new scenario where uh, P is let's say 267. Okay, Q is let's say 33, and cost is Q square. Okay, so basically this is what it is, and you have to find profits. So what we can do is, again, you know, we can define P. So basically I'm overriding the same variable P by, because I'll not be needing it, so I can just override it. Q equal to 33, and then, you know, our revenue is P star Q. Okay, and then cost is Q star star 2. Okay, and now profit is revenue minus cost. Okay, and then all that we do is just print the profits. Okay, let's run this. Okay, and as you can see, the it's 7722. Is that fine? So I mean, variables, creating variables is actually a very good way to uh, you know uh, even do calculations. I mean, even if you want to use Python as a calculator, it's always helpful if you create variables, because this is just uh, I mean, it's more readable. Okay. Secondly, it's clear what are you trying to do. With all this, it's very clear what you're trying to do, and of course, if you want to just make some small changes, you can actually do that. So let's say if you want to change the quantity to 32, just change this quantity over here. Rest of the code will work exactly as it is, and just run this. I mean, this is much better than writing 267 times 33 minus 33 square, and then just whenever it's come, just make these changes at multiple places. So so this is much better. Is that fine? Any questions? Any questions so far? Can you hear me?
Yeah, no
Yes,
question. Thank you.
Oh, okay, so is that fine? I mean, can we continue? I mean, I hope it's not
Yes,
too
I had a
fast.
question.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah, so just a quick clarification. When you were using Markdown, when you
Yeah,
were writing P, Q, and Q square,
yeah.
what is that dollar P dollar that you have to use for
Okay,
Markdown?
okay. Yeah,
Is that just
sorry,
a
I
variable?
yeah, it's actually LaTeX. Okay, so like I mean, okay, let me just show you. So I think it's going to be useful, both for Piazza and Markdown, that you should also learn some basic LaTeX. It's not difficult. I mean, like a natural way of writing Q square is this, right? I mean, that's what you do. Okay. So instead of just doing this, just put them in dollars. Okay. The reason is because if you don't do that, the output will be like this. But if you actually use the dollar sign, okay, then you can actually convert it into the output like this. Okay, so that's what it is. Yeah, absolutely. That's LaTeX. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Okay. Okay. So let's continue. Okay. Another thing which is kind of very useful is using conditionals. Okay. So uh, now let me. Okay. So let's say I want to write something like this. Okay. So if the score is, let's say, greater than 80, then grade is A. If the score is between 70 and 80, then the grade is B. If the score is less than 80, then the grade is, sorry, less than 70, then the grade is C. Okay, so suppose I want to write some bunch of code, where if I just put if I just change the score, and I run this entire block of code, I get the grade. I get the grade of the student out. Okay, so it's just a simple example. Okay, I mean, of course, you can do much more with the conditionals. Just to actually tell you, what conditionals actually do. Let's take this very simple example. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this. I'll write some small piece of code. Just which will execute this for me. Okay. Okay. So let's say score. I can just create some score. Whichever score I like. Okay, 85. Okay, and then what I can do is this. Of course, what I want is this, that if score is greater than 80, then display A. If the score is between 70 and 80, then display B. If the score is less than 70, display C. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so I can use this if. Okay, if oh, it's in Markdown. Okay, just yeah. Okay, so if score is okay greater than 80, okay, print A. Okay, please note that what I'm doing here is this. I'm just writing a string over here, because if I don't do that, there'll be an error, because Python will not recognize what is A. Okay, so now what I'm saying is that if score is greater than 80, and then you have to use this semicolon. Okay, and then when you're going to press enter, it will be automatically indented. Okay, the indentation will happen automatically. Okay, you don't have to do any kind of spacing yourself. Okay, so it will. So let me just show you. Okay, let me just enter this. Okay, you can see that it will automatically take you to the place from where the code should start. Okay, so if score is greater than 80, then print A. Okay, else if score is greater than 70, okay, print else if elif, just elif elif print b. Okay, and else print c. Okay, so what do you think? If I run this, what will be the result? A. That's right. Okay, let's just run this. You can see that the grade is A. Okay, so if I want to see the grade of someone who has scored 75, you can just run this. You can see it's B. Okay, and what about 80? What do you think should be the result?
B.
That's right. Okay, is that clear? Okay, fine. Any questions? Okay. Okay, so now let me talk about lists. Okay, so okay, so this is a way in which you can create lists. Okay, so suppose I want to create list of numbers. Okay, so you can actually, let's say, list of scores. Okay, so scores equals, so this is the bracket that you want to use to create a list. Okay, so make sure it is exactly these brackets. Don't change them. Okay, because otherwise it will change the data type. Okay, so right now you'll end up creating a list, but if you change some to these kind of brackets, then it will be kind of a tuple. Okay, or a tuple, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So just be careful about that. Okay. And different data types have different functionality. So use the appropriate brackets. Okay, so suppose we have some scores, 65, 77, 89. Okay. So let's just run this. So you can now, if you want, you can print scores. Okay. Okay. You can see that it's basically this. This is the value that scores take. Okay. Now if you want to figure out what is the type, okay, you can just print type of scores. Okay. And you can see that it's a list. Okay. Is that fine? Okay. Now there are a lot of things that you can do with the list. Okay. So you can actually change the list by adding numbers to it. Let's say, for example, if there is some additional student, who also reported his score, and you want to just add it to this particular list of scores, so you can actually use the append method. Okay, so there is this append method that you can use. So this is, you can do scores.append, and let's say the score of that particular student is 99. Okay, and then if you just print scores, you should get uh, the list basically changed. You actually added this number 99 at the end. Is that fine? So this is how you can actually change the existing list. Okay. So of course you can also let's say if you have score data from class 1, which is this, and if you have another score data from class 2, okay, and you want to actually uh, make a combined list of scores, so this is how we can do it. You can just use the addition operation. So addition operation on lists works differently. Okay, so let's say new scores. So let me create some new scores. Okay, let's say 35, 77, 29. Okay, and let's just add these two. Okay, and let's see what will be the result. So you can see that the result is 65, 77, 89, 99, followed by 35, 77, 29. So let me just put a print statement over here. Fine. Is that okay? Okay. But note that it will not change the list of scores. So if you see, the scores is still the same. Okay. So it's not going to make any change. It's just going to produce this result, but we haven't assigned it to any variable yet. Okay, so it's not going to make any change in scores or new scores. It's just going to concatenate the two lists, and will give you the result. Okay, so if you want to actually kind of extend the list of scores by new scores, then this is the way to do it. You can actually say scores equal to scores plus new scores. Okay, and now if you print scores, okay, you will get the complete list. Okay, because now you have made changes to the scores. Basically, you have overwritten scores by this uh, scores plus new scores. Okay, so that's one way to do it. There is another way in which you can do it. You can actually use the extend method. Like you have an append method, you also have an extend method. Okay, so let me just redefine scores as this. Okay, and I'm going to use extend method. Okay, so scores is this again. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll just again do the same thing but using the extend method. Okay, scores dot extend. Okay, and what is the extension? What are you extending? It's basically new scores. Okay, and now if you print scores, okay, you will get exactly this. Okay, so let's run this, and as you can see that, oh, there is 99 missing. Oh yeah, it's because I actually appended 99, which I didn't do here. Okay, so let me just do that as well. Okay, is that fine? Okay, any questions? Okay, and there are actually lots of methods that you can apply on lists. You can actually use a documentation for Python lists. Okay, you can, like, I mean, it's just going to be always the first, like most of the time, the first result. Okay, so you can see, these are the two methods that we have tried. You can also use insert function, like insert method. And you also have remove method, remove the first item from the list. You also have this pop method, clear method, index, count, the number of times a particular element appears in the list. The sort method, which is just going to sort the list. The reverse method, which is just going to reverse the elements. So, I mean, if you just read, the documentation, you can actually uh, whatever functionality you need, you can actually use that to, uh, you know, to solve a problem. Okay, so okay, is that fine? Any questions? Okay. By the way, you can also, I mean, if you just see, if you just click on tab, let's say, I've done scores dot. So scores is a list, so Python already recognizes it. So if I click tab here, it will also give me the methods here. Okay, can you see this? I mean, just check this out on your computer. Okay, just click tab, after creating scores dot, I mean, you will see all these methods, that are associated with the list. So this is another way to check, what all methods are there associated with this particular data type. Okay, and then let's say if you want to see, like, I mean, of course the names will give you some idea, but to see how to use it, you can do a Google search, or you can use the documentation, okay, associated with that particular data type, to see how to use it. Okay, is that fine?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, okay, okay. Now, suppose you want to access a subset, okay, of your scores list, okay, or you can say some element at some position. Okay, you want to access that. Okay, so how do you do that? Okay, so like, this is again something that you should be very careful about. The counting in Python starts from 0. Okay, so let's say if you want to access the first element, okay, of the scores list, then you can put scores 0. Okay, and use these brackets. Again, you have to use the same brackets, but this time you are basically trying to access the 0th entry. Okay, 0th means the first entry, actually, of this particular list. Okay, and let's just print this. Okay, you can see that, the result is 65. Okay, and suppose you want to access, okay, let's say, uh, you know suppose you want to access the last entry. Okay, then this is how you can do it. Print scores -1. Okay, you can see that that's just going to give you the last entry. Is that fine? Okay, so the way to remember this is it's like a cycle. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then if you just want to see from the reverse, it's just going to be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. Okay, so obviously you cannot put a 0 over here because 0 is already there, so you just use -1 from the right if you want to actually access the entries. Okay, so -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. Okay, if you want to figure out what is the length of this course, of course we can see the length is 7, but sometimes the lists are really long, so you don't want to actually count it like this. So there is a inbuilt function called len, okay, which you can use to figure out the length of the list of scores. Okay, so print len scores. Okay, and let's run this. Okay, you can see that it's 7. Is that fine? Is that okay?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, so let me ask you this question then. Now that it is clear, so what will this give me? So if I print this, print scores, what will be the result of this?
29.
Without, huh?
29.
So that absolutely okay. It will be 29. Okay. Okay. Let's run this and check. And that's right. Okay, because it's this is the index is 6, right? So because its length of scores is 7, so 7 minus 1 is 6. So now basically it's like print scores, the with basically the index becomes 6, so score 6 is actually this entry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it's just going to be one less than the length, because it's the counting starts from 0. Okay, now what about this? So if I do something like this, what will this print out?
An error?
Should give me
Index.
an error, because I mean it's just out of range. Okay, and what if I do something like this?
76.
76, that's right. Okay, very good. Let's run this. Okay. And as expected, because this is take the index to 5, and then that's going to be this entry, which is 77. Now you subtract one from subtract one from it, and you'll get 76. Okay, is that fine? Good. Okay, so let's see. Okay, now suppose I want to figure out the average score. Okay, uh, of the scores, basically of the scores in this list called scores. Okay, so you can actually use, so again there is some inbuilt function called sum, okay, which will result in giving you the sum of the scores. So sorry. Okay, so if you want to print out the sum of scores, you can just check that you'll get the sum of scores. Okay, so you already know how to figure out the length of scores. Now you also know how to figure out the sum of scores, so you can figure out the average score, right? And just straightforward. So you can define average score as sum scores divided by len scores. Okay, and now you can print average score. Is that fine? Is that okay?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So suppose
एक्स्ट्रा मेरा खुद टूट
yeah.
मेरा छाता रह गया था कहीं तो आपका से एक पड़ा एक्स्ट्रा मैं आज ले जाऊं
So yeah. So suppose I
गुड
want to do
मॉर्निंग
something. I want to
इससे हो
actually. Okay, please mute
हाँ
yourself.
लेट हो गया आज
Okay. Okay. Now suppose I want to do something like this. That I want to create a list of grades. Okay, for each of these scores, I want to basically create a list of grades which will be like this. For 65 there'll be a grade corresponding to it. Let's use maybe basically something like this. So if score is greater than 80, then the corresponding grade should be A. If score is greater than 70, then the corresponding grade should be B, and so on and so forth. So basically I want to I want to create a list where the first element is C, the second element is B, the third element is A, fourth element is A, fifth element is C, and so on and so forth. Okay, I mean, understood? Okay, so of course, we can also do this manually, but let's say if we have 500 scores, of course, you don't want to do that manually, right? And you just want to write a short program to do it. Okay, where I can actually go over this list element by element. Okay, uh, and create a new list, which has a list of grades. Okay, so how do we do this? Okay, so there is something called for loop. So you can actually use for loop to accomplish this. Okay, so let me tell you what is actually for loop. So let's talk about for loop. Okay, so uh, just a minute. Sorry. I just because I use R Python, sometimes R, sometimes Python, so I just keep getting this. Yeah, range will be in Python. Okay, yeah. So this is how you can do it. Okay. So okay. So let me first write the code and then I'll explain to you. Okay, fine. Okay. So I'm just printing scores so that we have access to the scores on the screen. Okay. and I'm creating this new new list, okay, grade, which is an empty list right now. And what I'm going to do is, I'll just append, the grade for the corresponding score one by one. Okay, so I'll basically access the first entry of the scores. Okay, uh, okay. So before I do this, okay, let me just comment it out for the time, and I'll show you what I'm trying to do. Okay, great. Okay, now if I do something like this, if score 0 is greater than 80, then grades dot append a.
Professor,
Yeah.
uh, um, you've misspelled grades as GARDES in the append lines.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's right. Okay, I'll just correct this. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, yeah. Now, so if I run this code, okay, and if I print grades, what do you think will happen? I mean, it only uses what you have already learned. Okay, nothing new. I'm not writing any loop yet. Let me print the scores for you, okay, because I guess you need that. Okay, now this is the list of scores. So if I run this block, tell me what will happen.
Grades will have C in it.
Yeah, so there'll be one entry in the grades, which will be C. Do you agree, all of you? Yes?
Yes, Professor.
Yes, Professor.
I want to check this. Okay, let's run this as expected. Is that fine? Okay, now let me just run this by changing one over here. Now what do you think will happen? Okay, so you should be careful. Okay, now I'm going to comment this out because this is my grades. Okay, so I don't want to overwrite it by an empty list. Okay, so now I'm going to comment this out. Now if I do something like this, what do you think will happen if I print grades?
There'll be an error.
B.
Are you sure?
Since Jupyter
So
has already run grades, I think it'll
yeah, so
append
grades
C.
yeah, so grades already has, so it is a list with one element C. Okay, now what you are doing is this, that you are running this loop. That's all that you're doing. Sorry, running this conditional. Okay, that's all that you're doing. So you're going to just check what is on the second, what is the second entry of the scores. If the second entry of the scores is greater than 80, then it will append the grades by A. If the second entry of the scores is greater than 70 and less than or equal to 80, then it will append the grades by B, and otherwise it will append the grades by C. Okay, so if I run this, it will just look at this 77. Okay, I mean, I already have this grades list with C in it. Okay, it will just look at this. Okay, look at this, what I'm doing over here. Okay, it will just look at the first entry. So the first entry, second entry, which is 77. Now 77 is basically is going to fall in this category. So if I run this, the new grades list should be B. Okay, a CB, sorry, CB. Okay, let's run this. You can see that B is, B is something that is reflected over here. Is that fine? Now, of course, you can just keep changing these indices and you keep doing it. But, it's obviously very inefficient. A better way to do that is write a loop, because you want to actually repeat this block of code multiple times. So instead of just, uh, instead of repeating this exercise like this, you can actually write a loop and let Python do it for you. Okay, so loop is basically for that. So let me just do this quickly. Okay, let me again override grades by an empty list. Okay, and let me show you that you can just accomplish this. Should be a little careful when you just do this copy pasting. Okay, just make sure that the indentation is correct. Okay, okay, now I will actually, so I is kind of something that will iterate over, so what is this range of length of grades? So length of grades is basically whatever, 7, right? I mean, yeah, 7. Okay, so range of length of grades, you can actually think of it as a list of numbers from 0 to 6. Okay, so it's a shortcut to actually create a list. Rather than writing 0 1 2 3 4 5 6, you can just simply write range of length of scores. It will create a kind of a list. Okay, 0 to 6. Now once you have 0 to 6, for I in 0 to 6, you will just, so this index I will actually run over 0 to 6 one by one. Okay, and then you just replace this by I, because this I will first take value 0, then it will take value 1, then it will take value 2, then it will take value 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, and you just keep repeating. So basically it will keep repeating this block of code until you just come out of this range of length of scores. Okay, and now if you print grades, you will get the entire list of grades. Let's run this. Can you see this? Have you all understood? Okay, okay, okay. So let's talk about another loop. Okay, which is also quite useful. It's known as while loop. Okay, so this was for loop, and there is another thing called while loop. Okay, so suppose from this scores list, you want to figure out first score, which is greater than 80. I mean, so in this case, you can see that the first score that is greater than 80 is 89. Okay, so you basically want to extract the first score from that list, which is greater than 80. So how will you do it? I mean, of course, we are right now working with smaller lists, but of course, I mean, once you actually write it, then you can actually create any, like, I mean, list of thousands, 10,000s, lakhs. I mean, just write this, and Python will do this particular task for you in seconds. Okay, even in fact even less than seconds. Okay, uh, but just to see, I'm just working on smaller lists. Okay, for the time being. Okay, okay, so let's see. So basically now what I want to do is this. I want to I want to print out the first score which is greater than 80 in this entire list. Okay, so as we can see, it's 89. Okay, so so how do we do that? Okay, so this is how you can do this. Okay, now what you can do is you can do something like this: I equals 0. So you can just initiate, okay, some variable, assign it value 0. Okay, you can call this index or whatever you want. Okay, I equal to 0. Okay, and now you actually check, that if scores I is less than, so okay, yeah, so I want to actually print out the first score which is greater than 80. Okay, so obviously, till scores is less than or equal to 80, I just have to keep searching. Okay, so what I can do is I can say that while the scores I is less than or equal to 80, just basically keep increasing the value of I. Okay, so just keep increasing the value of I. So basically overwrite I with I plus 1. So as long as scores I is less than or equal to 80, keep increasing the value of I by 1. Okay, and once this condition fails to hold, come out of the loop. Okay, so if this condition fails to hold, then come out of the loop. So that's what while does. Okay, so while score size less than or equal to 80, I will be incremented by 1 in every step. Okay, and the moment this condition fails to hold, it will come out of the loop. Okay, now you can actually print score size. Okay, and you will see that that's exactly what we wanted, right? I mean, we wanted the first score which is greater than 80, and that's what we got. Is this clear to everyone? Any questions about this while loop? Any questions?
No, Professor.
Okay. Okay, so okay, so what I'll do now is I'll talk about another data type, which is dictionary. Okay, so uh, okay, so what is dictionary? So dictionary is also like lists, okay, but it's a little different. Okay, in the sense that here you can actually choose the name of the indices. Okay, so so that's basically how you can think about it. Okay? I mean, like in this case, the indices are like for the index for this is 0, the index for this is 1, the index for this is 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, but sometimes you don't want these numbers as indices, you want something else. Okay, so you can actually use dictionary for that. Okay, so let me give you an example. Okay, so suppose you want this course, so let's say this course data that you have, you also want to put names, as kind of uh, basically the key, or basically the key or the index, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I mean, key is the word which is used. Okay, but just to make sure that you understand how it is connected to lists, you can actually think of key as a type of index. Okay, uh, so uh, so so in dictionary, we put key value pairs. Okay, so in dictionary we put key value pairs. Okay, so let me just do this. Let me just rewrite this data, scores data, in terms of key value pairs. So now, instead of using 0, 1, 2, 3 as indices, I'll use names of the students. Okay, so they'll be the keys. Okay, they'll be the indices. Okay, so this is how you can do it. Okay, so score equal to, so now in this case, when you are creating a dictionary, you're not going to use these brackets. Okay, this is for the lists. Okay, so if you want to create a dictionary, use these brackets. Okay, so these are the brackets that you'll be using to create dictionary. Okay, so so let's see. Okay, so let me use the same set of scores. Okay, and I'm overriding them. Okay, that's all that I'm doing. Okay, well, let me just do it in a different, okay, fine, let me just give you one example, and then I'll just rewrite the above list using a loop. Okay, so by a dictionary. Okay, so let's say, so suppose uh, you want to write a dictionary of two scores, where there are two students, Amit and Sumit. Okay, so let's say Amit scored 88. Okay, and then Sumit scored 99. Okay, fine. Now you can just print, okay, scores. Okay, and you can see that, that's basically uh, the scores of Amit and Sumit. Okay, this is a dictionary. If you want to check, you can print the type of scores now, because I've overwritten scores. Okay, so let's run this. You can see it's a dictionary type. Okay, now suppose, so if you remember in the list, if you want to access a particular entry, you use the index. Okay, so here you'll use the key. So this is known as a key. This name Amit is the key, and this is a value. Okay, similarly here Sumit is a key, and this is a value. Okay, so print, well, let's say I want to figure out what is a Amit score in the list, sorry, in the dictionary. Okay, of this particular data of scores. How much does Amit score? So I can use again the same brackets. Remember, to access, use these brackets, and then, instead of putting a 0 or a 1 over here, you put, the key. Okay, and let's run this, and you will get Amit score. Is that fine?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, so this is how you can actually access the elements of our dictionary. Okay, now let me do one thing. Let me take these scores. Okay, so again, this is a list. Okay, let's run this. Okay, so if I print scores, of course I'll get a list of these scores. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll create a list of names. Okay, so names is so how many names do we need? 7 names. So you can give me 7 names. Okay, RB7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so these are 7 names. Okay, now let's say this is Amit's score, this is Sumit's score, this is Harsh's score, this is Piyush's score, this is Amar's score, this is Nidhi's score, and this is Chanchal's score. So what I want to do is I want to create a dictionary. Okay, of basically names as the key and the value as the score. Is that fine? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I can just write loop. Okay, so let me just create a new variable d scores. So it's basically dictionary of scores. Okay, and let me put let me just do this. Okay, d scores equal to the empty dictionary. Okay, so right now I'm just going to put just create an empty dictionary. Okay, so what I'm going to do is basically I want to access the first element of names. Okay, and assign the first element of scores as value to it. Okay, and put it in this dictionary. Okay, so how do we do this? Okay, so this is a way to do it. So one way is, of course, you just did this, but another way to create or basically put elements in a dictionary is this. You can do something like this: d scores. Okay, just whatever key, whatever key it is. Okay, and then Amit, and what is his score? 65. Okay, and now let's print these scores. You can see that now this dictionary contains Amit's score. Okay, so this is a way to actually add elements to a dictionary, like append the dictionary, like the way we had for you know the append method was there for the lists. For this this is basically kind of simple. So you are basically assigning value 65 to this particular name Amit. Okay, and or string Amit. Okay, and this is going to become the key, and this is going to be become the value. Okay, so this is how you can do it. Okay, now of course you don't want to just do it like okay, name Amit and then Sumit and then Harsh. So you can actually write a loop over here. Okay, which will do this job for you. It's just repetitive, right? I mean, you don't want to do this manually. Okay, so how do you access Amit entry? Okay, so how do you access Amit entry from names? Names 0, right? Okay, and how do you access the first entry of scores? Just put score 0, right? Yes. Okay,
Yes,
now you can basically, if you do it this way, then also you'll get the same thing, right? I mean, just right. Okay, now we are basically all set. All that we have to do is we have to write the same code for I in range of length of, well, names or scores, because they both have the same length, so you can actually put any of them. Okay, scores, sorry. Okay, and then just put this over here. Okay, and then I. Okay, and now if you print this, you'll get the dictionary, that you're interested in. Is that fine? Is that okay?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, okay. Okay, also, one very interesting thing, you can actually change the list, like the elements in the list. Let's say you want to override some element in the list. Let's say you want to change the score of Amit. Let's say, Amit came back, and you check that, there's some totaling mistake, and when you actually sum the score, it turned out to be 69. Okay, so how will you actually make the changes in both scores and d scores? So scores is a list, d scores is the dictionary. Okay, so I want to make changes in both. Okay, so what I can do is, of course, I can just make a change over here and rerun this code. So then, d scores will automatically change. That's one way to do it. Otherwise, I can also make directly changes in scores and d scores, separately, whichever way you like. So scores, so let me make a change in scores 0, is 69. Okay, so now if you print scores, you will get the changed list, right? I mean, this is the new list. Okay, so if you want, you can just copy paste it over here and just rerun the entire thing. But I mean, a better way to do that is you can just access Amit scores. Okay, because Amit came to you, and he said that there's some mistake, so you rectified it. So what you're going to do is you're going to just access Amit score from the dictionary. Okay, so that is another very good thing about this. You just because you know the key, so you just put the key over there. You don't need to know the index. Okay, here you need to know the index, okay, of Amit's code. Okay, so you just put Amit as a key, and just assign whatever new value you want to assign to these scores. The reason is because right now, if you print these scores, it is the same. The value is 65. Okay, you don't want to do that, right? And you want to update it. Okay, so just put 69. Okay, and then print these scores, and you'll see that the value is changed. Okay, can you see this? Is that okay?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, any questions so far? So all the functionalities that we have learned today, all this while loop, for loop, dictionaries, lists, this is actually, I mean, alone, like even without using any of the libraries, we can actually do a lot with these also. I mean, to solve lots and lots of problems. I mean, if you want to figure out the student with the highest score, okay, in a dictionary. Okay, so you want to actually pick out the student, the one who has scored the maximum score. I mean, you can do that. Okay, if you want to figure out the first student with the score greater than 80, you can do that. I mean, you can do actually lots of stuff. You can figure out the average scores. You can figure out variances. You can actually um, you know do a lot. Okay, basically, I mean, you can sort the scores. So yeah, I mean, it's actually quite useful. Okay, so Okay, so so suppose you want to access the keys of the dictionary D scores. Okay, so this is how you can do it. D scores dot keys. Okay, okay, and so this is just going to return the keys. Okay, so let me just check this. Okay, print D scores dot keys. Okay, and let's run this. Okay, you can see that keys are these. Okay, so these are the keys. Okay, and if you want to return the values, okay, and then if you run this, you'll see these are the values. Okay, and if you want to actually return them as lists, so basically right now we created from the list we created the dictionary, but let's say if you want to again you have the dictionary, you want to come back to the lists, so you can also do that. You can actually put list over here. Okay, so list. Okay, and let's run this. Okay, so basically this is the list actually. I mean, and you can actually assign any name to it. So I mean we already have a name of this particular list by the name of scores, but let's say if you don't have, you just had a dictionary and you want to create list of values from the dictionary, then this is the way to do it. Okay, take d scores dot values and put a list function outside, and then just assign it to some name, a equal to whatever list of these scores, and then a will be your list of scores. Okay, you can see that that's your list of scores. So same holds for the keys also. I mean, you can do the same thing for the key. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so let me give you one exercise. Okay, and then I'll do that. Okay, so uh, so remember, let's say if you want to write 20 numbers, you can actually write them like this: range of well, let's say if you want to create a list of numbers from 0 to 20. Okay, so 20 and 0 both are included. Okay, then this is how you can do it: range 21, right? Yes or no? Okay, and just to be careful, like I'm just make sure it's a list. It's not some other data type. Just put a list outside. Okay, and you can print x. Okay, let's just run this. Okay, you can see that it's a list of these 21 numbers from 0 to 20. Now what I want you to do is, okay, just take 5 minutes, write a code, where these numbers are the keys. Okay, so create a dictionary where these numbers are the keys and the values are basically uh, 1 if it's an even number and 0 if it's an odd number. Is that fine? Is the question clear? Okay, so key is these numbers. Okay, keys are these numbers. So you have to create a dictionary where keys are these numbers and values are basically 0 if it's an odd number, 1 if it's an even number. So basically it's an indicator, which indicates whether the key is even or not. So if it's even, then it should take value 1, otherwise it takes value 0. So do this. Okay, take 5 minutes. Okay, write a code, and you can share it over here. Okay, let me just so I have received one reply in a private mode. Um, uh, so what I'll do is I'll just write the code that that I've received in the private mode. Okay, and let's see if that works. Okay. So I'm just copy pasting it. I'll just do some indentation here. Okay, so this is the code that I've received. Okay. Okay, so basically, so I mean, you can, if you want, you can just use the name that. Okay. Uh, so, uh, so, so let's see. Let's just go over the code once. Okay. So we are basically iterating over x. Okay, and one by one, we are going to check if we divide this particular element by two, the remainder is zero or not. Okay, so if the remainder is zero, then what we are going to do is we'll basically in this dictionary we are going to add the key value pair, which is the ith entry of x as the key, and even as the value. Okay, and well, yeah, so you should put, let's just put 1 and 0, because we want 1 and 0. Okay, and otherwise we'll put even xi equal to 0. Okay, so this should work. Okay, let's just run this. Okay, you can easily check that this is absolutely correct. Okay, so well done. Okay, I mean, this is exactly how you need to write this code. Okay. Is that fine? Any questions? Okay,